There's a moment in every life when the story you've been living no longer feels like the story you're meant to tell. Not because anything is wrong, but because something inside you is waking up. A quiet shift, a subtle ache, a whisper that says, you're meant for more than this version of yourself you've been forming. This season is about that whisper, the slow burn of identity reinvention, the emotional transformation that begins long before anyone else can see it, the becoming. Because reinvention isn't a dramatic leap, it's a cinematic unfolding, a series of small, honest moments where you stop shrinking, stop apologizing, and start returning to the truest version of yourself. And if you're here, listening, something in you is already shifting. Something in you is already becoming. Welcome to Season 2 of Backstory Movies, The Art of Becoming, where cinema becomes a mirror and every mirror becomes a map. Okay, before I begin this episode, I'd like to mention a couple of things. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so you will notice that I will be doing some inner coughing, if you will. It's because I'm getting over it. So let's get past that, okay? But you'll hear that every once in a while in the episode. So let's do this. Check this out. Let's begin this episode. Movies Explained. What Interstellar teaches us about love, time, and human meaning. There's a moment in Interstellar, quiet, almost fragile, where Cooper stands in the doorway of his home, looking at the sky like it's both a promise and a threat. The wind moves through the cornfields, dust settles on the floorboards, and for a second, everything feels suspended, as if time itself is holding truth and breath. It's the kind of moment you don't notice the first time you watch the film, but when you return to it, when you're older, when you've lived more, when you've lost more, you realize that this is the emotional center of the story. Not the wormhole, not the black hole, not the science, but the distance. The emotional distance between who you are and who you're becoming. And that's where this episode begins. Before we go deeper, this episode is supported by one of my babies, creativitiesexpression.com, where I explore the emotional architecture of becoming, the psychology, the storytelling, the inner world behind every transformation. Part 1, Segment 1, I should say. The real reason we search for movies explained. When people search for movies explained, they think they're looking for plot clarity. But what they're actually searching for is emotional clarity. They want to understand why a story hits them in a place they didn't expect, why a scene lingers, why a line echoes, why a character feels like someone they've known or someone they've been. This is why film explained content is so powerful. It's not about decoding the plot, it's about decoding themselves. And Interstellar is one of the most emotionally revealing films of the last decade. Not because of science, but because of its psychology. The psychology of distance. Interstellar is a story about distance. Not the distance between planets, not the distance between galaxies, but the distance between who you are, who you want to be, and who you're afraid to become. This is character psychology in motion. Cooper is torn between the two truths: the father who wants to stay, the explorer who knows he has to leave. And that tension, that emotional fracture, is the heartbeat of the film. This is where the movie resonates. This is why people search for narrative breakdowns and movies explain videos. Because the film is not asking, what would you do if you had to save humanity? It's asking, what would you sacrifice to become the person you're meant to be? Part 3, the scene that breaks everyone. There's a scene, you know the one, where Cooper watches the video messages from his children. Years have passed for them, and hours have passed for him. And the emotional weight of that moment is unbearable. This is where cinematic storytelling becomes emotional truth. Because the scene is not about time dilation, it's about regret, it's about longing, it's about the cost of choosing a future your present self can't yet understand. That's why the scene breaks people. It's not the science, it's the psychology. It's the realization that becoming yourself often means losing versions of your life you never get back. Part 4, the black hole as a metaphor. Let's talk about the black hole in the movie. Not the physics, the metaphor. What does it really mean metaphorically? The black hole is the emotional void we all face when we step into the unknown. You leave the relationship, you quit the job, you move to a new city, you choose yourself, you walk away from the life you were told you wanted. It's the moment when everything familiar collapses and you have no idea what comes next. Ooh, that's the beauty of it. That is why the black hole sequence is so powerful. It's not about science, it's about surrender. It's about trusting that the version of you on the other side is worth the fall. Part 5, the ending explained, emotionally, not scientifically. People love to debate the ending of Interstellar. They want to know if it makes sense, if it's realistic, if the science checks out. But the ending is not meant to be understood with logic, so get that off your mind. It's meant to be understood with emotion. The ending is about connection. It's about love. It's about memory. It's about meaning. The invisible threads that tie us to the people who become because of. It's not scientific ending. It's a human one. This is the emotional movies at their most honest. Part 6. The real message of Interstellar? Here's the truth. Interstellar is not a movie about saving humanity. Come back to that movie over and over again, you'll discover that it's not. You have to look at it with different eyes. And truly, as you get older, you start to see it with a different lens. It's a movie about saving yourself. It's about choosing purpose over comfort, choosing meaning over safety, choosing growth over familiarity, and choosing the unknown over the predictable. It's about the emotional courage because it requires courage. Trust me, I know. To become the person your future needs you to be. This is why the film stays with people. This is why the search for movies explained and film explained breakdowns. Because the movie is not asking, what is the universe? What is the universe, excuse me? How vast is it? It's asking, what is your life trying to become? Ask yourself, what is your life trying to become? So let me ask you this gently, honestly, without rushing. Where in your life are you being asked to leap into the unknown? And what version of you is afraid of what you might find there? Sit with that. Breathe with that. Let it breathe. Let it echo. Let it resonate inside your soul and your being. If this episode gave you something to think about, and I hope it does, something to feel, something to return to, take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps this show reach more people who love cinematic storytelling and emotional clarity. And if you're listening on Spotify out there, tap the stars and let me know how this episode landed for you. Your voice helps this voice reach the people who need it. So, before I close, I'm grateful you're here with me, exploring stories not just for entertainment, but for meaning, for the emotional truth underneath the narrative, for the parts of ourselves we only meet when a film holds up a mirror, because that's what films are. They're mirrors, they're reflections of what we once were, what we can become. Thank you for listening. Thank you for feeling. Thank you for becoming. So, if you want deeper cinematic psychology breakdowns, visit backstorymovies.com, where I explore the emotional truth behind the stories we love. And I'll see you in the next episode. Reinvention isn't a destination, it's a decision, one you make quietly, courageously, over and over again. A decision to stop performing the version of yourself that made others feel comfortable. A decision to stop shrinking to fit the room. A decision to step into the identity you've been circling your entire life. And here's the truth: you're not becoming someone new, you're returning to someone real, someone whole, someone you've always been. If today's episode stirred something in you, a memory, a longing, a version of yourself you're ready to meet, follow that feeling. Let it guide you. For more cinematic psychology insights, visit backstorymovies.com, where every movie becomes a mirror and every mirror becomes a map. And if you're navigating your own reinvention, explore creativity'sexpression.com, where identity becomes art and becoming becomes wearable. So until next time, keep watching closely, keep becoming bravely, and remember, the next version of you is already waiting.